Mischievous Kitties, Night Owls. Cream and Mer-Ka had been inseparable since they first found each other in the shelter where they were born. They did everything together. They played, ate, napped together, and were even adopted together. Even though they had become fast friends with Pepper and Jewel at the shelter as well, Cream and Mer-Ka were best friends. With everything that had happened in the last few months, being adopted, reuniting with Pepper and Jewel, and then later the addition of Peaches and Mr. Fluffles to the family. Through all these changes, they still remained best friends. But lately, Cream had been noticing something different. She had noticed that they seemed to be having different interests. Mer-Ka loved to spend most of his time reading his books almost every day, and then watching Owner play video games on the weekends. Cream just didn't get the appeal of those things. She was happy that Mer-Ka enjoyed a variety of stories, but it was just not her thing. Cream enjoyed sleeping while the sun was shining and being awake at night. She wished Mer-Ka could see how special the house was at night. But with all the activities that he did during the day, he went to bed almost as soon as the sky turned to twilight. Cream had tried to sleep during the night. After Owner and Mer-Ka had spent nearly the whole day and well into the night playing video games, Mer-Ka curled up to sleep by Owner's feet. Cream had already been on the bed lightly napping. She curled up against Mer-Ka, nuzzling against his shaggy fur. She prepared to doze back off to sleep, but she couldn't. Try as she might, her eyes just didn't feel tired anymore. They were instead ready to be wide open and explore the night. She readjusted so she faced the window. Her butt was still against Mer-Ka's side. She laid her face on her front paws and let out a heavy sigh. She understood all kitties were different and unique in their own way, but why did she have to be unique in this way? She didn't want to stay awake when all the others were asleep. She did that one night shortly after Owner adopted her and Mer-Ka. She didn't like it. She heard Owner and Mer-Ka adjusting in their sleep, and suddenly she found herself launched forward, and she rolled head over paws down the mini steps that sat next to the bed. She finally stopped and sitting on her butt, her tail laying between her back legs. When her head finally stopped spinning, she carefully stepped back up to see what had happened. Owner had rolled over to face the other direction. Mer-Ka was laying sprawled out on his back, his head on top of Owner's legs, his front paws twitched and his back legs kicked up in the air every so often. Cream just sighed and shook her head. He was probably dreaming of adventure like he sees in those books and Owner's games. He must have been dreaming when he or Owner kicked her out of the bed. She would have to ask him in the morning what he thought he was doing in the dream. Her tail twitched as the base of it throbbed. She could feel several sore spots developing from her head to the base of her tail. Well, I guess I'm up, she thought to herself. She did a proper stretch, hoping to relieve some of the soreness. She closed her eyes and slowly rotated her head to stretch her neck out, but then paused when she thought she heard a strange sound. She opened her eyes and frowned when she identified the sound. Owner and Mer-Ka were lightly snoring. She looked back at them and made sure they were okay. Oh yeah, they were fine. She trotted down the small stairs and padded out of the hallway down to the big stairs. She was trying to identify where the other kitties were as she passed them. Mer-Ka was the only one in Owner's bed. Pepper and Jewel were in a chair that sat against the wall by Owner's bed. Thankfully, they didn't notice her. She guessed that Peaches and Mr. Fluffles were somewhere downstairs, possibly on their favorite napping pillow in the living room. Cream stepped into the kitchen to get a little snack. That's okay, she thought. It's not like I was really planning on doing anything specific. Maybe if I find a comfortable spot in the sunroom, I'll be able to fall asleep. She ate a couple more bites of food. Her ears twitched, and she quickly looked behind her. She thought she caught a glimpse of a tail, but she didn't hear any nails tapping. She was probably just imagining things. She finished her snack and then cleaned the kitty kibble dust off her face. Then she slowly padded from the kitchen to the sunroom. The soft pillow in the living room was vacant, but she didn't notice. She made it to the sunroom, but instead of laying down, she climbed up on one of the chairs with her front paws on the windowsill. She laid her face on her paws and sighed again. She felt a little sad. But why? Probably because she was lonely. She had so much energy. There were so many things she wanted to do when it was nighttime, but she didn't want to do it alone. Something caught her eyes and she looked up, her face still on the top of her paws. She saw a squirrel hop out from the line of trees in the backyard. The fur on the back of Cream's neck prickled, though she wasn't sure why. It wasn't like the squirrel was a threat. And then, with a great flash of movement, a very large bird swooped down, its talons extended towards the squirrel. Cream lifted her head and pressed her nose against the screen, mesmerized by the scene. But the bird had misjudged where the squirrel was going to go. It just missed it, grabbing a clump of grass and dirt in its talons, just a foot away from the squirrel. Not about to waste the grace it was given, the squirrel fled back into the trees. The bird had to bank sharply to just miss the trees. It dropped the grass and dirt. It made several short but deep sounds as it turned and flew right towards the house. Cream couldn't believe the size of it. Its thick body and wings were covered in dark feathers, except for its belly, which was a lighter color. But the most striking thing about it was its bright gold eyes that almost seemed to glow. Cream could feel the hair on her back prickle again, and she instinctively ducked down below the windowsill as the bird flew over the house. She put her paws back on the windowsill and looked for the bird, but couldn't see it. She had never seen birds like it before. It was colored kind of like a hawk, but hawks were slim, and their wings were spread out long from their bodies. What was it? I wondered if the other kitties would know what kind of bird it was, she wondered. The thought of the other kitties reminded her to feel sad. I wish another kitty had seen that too. But she shook herself, determined to not let herself be sad. Whatever it was, that was pretty cool. Oh, she whispered to herself with a small smile. Pretty cool, huh? Asked a voice from across the room. What? Cream jumped about 2 feet in the air with a yowl. She looked and saw Peaches sitting on the windowsill about 3 feet away from her window. You startled me, she said, panting a little. I'm sorry, Peaches said in her calm voice and looked back out the window. The great owl almost had that squirrel. His aim is usually so perfect. I wonder what happened. Wait, Cream said with wide eyes. You saw that too? She excitedly twitched her tail. What did you say it was? I knew it was a bird, obviously, but it didn't look like a hawk. Do you know what it is? Peaches smiled at her enthusiasm. It was an owl. A great horned owl, to be specific. An owl? Cream asked, a little confused. I've never heard that before, except when Owner stubs a toe. Peaches giggled. Owner says ow to indicate pain. Oh, okay, Cream responded, still confused. Peaches continued. An owl, she made sure to put emphasis on the L sound, is a nocturnal bird similar to the hawk as far as color and diet, but very different in other aspects. Peaches smiled kindly at Cream. The orange wisps of fur on her cheeks bounced happily to match her smile. Cream was just a little less confused, but she couldn't help but smile back. She had never seen Peaches like this before. But it was a very pleasant sight, and it made Cream softly purr. Then Peaches groomed her face and looked back at Cream. It's so nice to see you like this. Peaches looked confused. Like what? So happy, Cream replied. Peaches was taken aback. I've been happy since Kitten and I were adopted by Owner. You just don't show it very often. I know. I'm not as exuberant about my happiness as the others, but I am happy here. Cream didn't understand the big word Peaches had used, but she did think she caught the meaning. I get it. You're just shy. You do like to use big words. What did you mean by that knock word about the owl? Nocturnal? Peaches said slowly. Nocturnal. Cream repeated a little slower. Yes, it means the owl spends most of its time awake during the night and sleeps during the day. Really? Cream asked, amazed. There's a word for that? Peaches smiled. There are many words for many things. I could teach you to read like I'm teaching Mocha. Cream looked down at her paws. It would probably be a waste of your time. I don't know what I would use that skill for. I'm not as interested in reading books like Mocha. Not really my thing. Those aren't all the things you can read. There are newspapers, encyclopedias, and other things that can be very educational. Cream shrugged, still staring at her paws. Like I said, not my thing. Peaches smiled. The offer is always open. She stretched and then checked the window again. What are you looking for? The owl. The backyard is his usual hunting ground. He usually sits in that tree over there in the corner to watch for prey. She pointed with her paw. Cream looked where Peaches was pointing. Okay, she said, a little confused. She didn't understand what she was supposed to be seeing. It looked like the same backyard. The only difference was the shadows were deepening and contrasted with the splashes in moonlight. That's a good spot, Peaches explained. The field by the tree is wide open, perfect for hunting. Cream didn't understand, but just shrugged her shoulders. Okay, if you say so. Anyway, what are you doing awake? Peaches asked. I didn't think you were nocturnal. Cream looked away, embarrassed. I don't like being up at night, but I just couldn't get back to sleep tonight. Do you usually have trouble sleeping at night? Cream didn't answer. She just jumped off the chair and stretched. After she was done, she stared at the dark emptiness of the living room. She didn't know where she was going to go. Peaches hopped onto one of the scratch posts and laid down, watching Cream carefully. She let her fluffy tail slide down off the back edge of the scratch post. It swayed gently from side to side. Cream was definitely nocturnal, but fought it for some reason. Where are you trying to go? Peaches asked her softly. I don't know, Cream said sadly. Why don't you like being awake at night? Cream stared at her paws and shifted uncomfortably. I don't like being alone, she said almost in a whisper. But you're not alone, Peaches replied. Cream looked over her shoulder and gave her a quizzical look and thought about her words. Then her eyes became wide with excitement. Are you usually awake at night too? She asked. I am right now, Peaches replied. I just thought that I woke you up. You're usually cuddled up asleep with Mr. Fluffles. There always comes a moment every night where all the kitties, except for me and you, migrate upstairs to sleep in various spots in Hunter's bedroom. I carried Kitten upstairs while you were getting your snack. But I'm usually up all night, every night. Oh, Cream said. That explained the tail. She wasn't sure if she really saw or not. So, what do you do all night? Peaches sat up with a stretch of her long neck. Well, I watch the horned owl hunt, then run sprints from the sunroom to the front door and back to get my exercise. And then, I don't know. I just try to stay busy and make sure that I'm tired enough to get a quick nap before the others wake up. Do you ever get lonely? Sometimes. But I'm not about to change to sleeping during the night. Why? Cream asked, very confused. Because I'm like the owl. I'm nocturnal. If I try to change my natural rhythms, I'll be tired all day and in a grumpy mood, and just not feel good. Cream looked down at her paws. The words described her. She always seemed to have better days when she stayed up late into the night. I guess I'm nocturnal too. But I don't want to be up at night if I'm going to be by myself. Peaches tilted her head to one side. What happened? Cream shrugged. The silence is too loud. The shadows are scary. Even though the colors of the moonlight are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, there's usually no one else awake to share it. And how about tonight? Cream looked up. Well, it was cool to see the owl hunt. But it was even better when I realized you had seen it too. Peaches smiled and suddenly looked back at the window. Well, well, well. Look who's back. Really? Cream asked excitedly. The two kitties stealthily jumped to their respective windows and saw the owl perched on a branch scanning the line of trees. The owl sensed movement and turned its head around to look at them. Cream jumped and fell backwards off the windowsill onto the chair. Whoa! She exclaimed as she peeked back out the window. How did it do that? It's a unique ability for owls. It's so cool, Peaches agreed. Hey, would you like to sprint with me through the house after this? Sure, Cream agreed. She had a feeling that being like an owl with Peaches was going to be great.